welcome to a brand new episode of Sequel Rights, the podcast where we take a look at the franchises that make you go, they made how many of those? And we give each and every sequel a fair trial. My name is Justin Camps, and I'm here with...
Elizabeth Helly.
And...
Eliz's new voice.
Oh! Eliz has got a new voice. She's got a new voice.
I have no tonsils now, but 98% of people say I sound exactly the same.
That's what I
Yeah,
thought.
but you're free. You've been unburdened of those filthy
right.
tonsils.
Yes, true.
The doctor performed the surgery correct, and you came out the same.
Yep.
That's right.
Good job, doctors. You're doing it every day for us. Anyways, holy shit, you guys. We have a fucking exciting episode for you.
We absolutely do. The most exciting episode yet.
We have
Some might say.
Surprise.
We have a surprise, amazing guest interview at the end of this episode. We are interviewing none other than co-creator of the first 4 Tremors films and the original Tremors film, S.S. Wilson.
Oh my God.
Yay.
Holy crap. He, I don't know how this happened, but he totally agreed to, sit down and have a chat with us, and I can't wait for you guys to hear this.
Yeah, I'm so excited to talk to him. I think that he's just such a... He not only did the Tremors stuff, it's Batteries Not Included, Short Circuit, the animated series Mask. Like, a lot of my childhood has come from this man, and I cannot wait to talk to him.
Yeah, I thought he had some really great stuff to say about representation in these Tremors movies, and then also, like, just you can see how much care he really has for the franchise and all the details, and that I think that's really why it's been so successful and such a fan favorite.
Yeah, so he was extremely gracious with his time for us, so we have a pretty lengthy interview for you guys at the end of this episode, so stick around, but in the meantime, what are we talking about first? We've got Tremors 3, and we're going back to perfection. You know how I know that? You know how I know that, Tyler?
I think it might be in the trailer.
Uh-huh. Let's watch it.
In Perfection, Nevada,
Go, go!
there's a whole lot of shaking going on.
Oh, boy! Oh, God,
And we're back.
To perfection.
To pure perfection.
Back to direct to video.
That's right.
Yes,
It
yes.
is 2001.
2001.
The year is 2001. Discmen are being worn on hips. Duct tape is being put on pants.
That's right. And Melvin still exists.
So this movie opens with a little bit of a prologue, and we see that Bert is in Argentina. He's been called in by ESPN 8 the Ocho.
So we were, I mean, yeah, no, that was funny. We were in Mexico, last, film, and we were, obviously it's called Back to Perfection, but it was fun to see this start off in a new country as well. And, I like that it was like, a little cold open to the movie where it's like, reintroducing everyone to how much of a badass Bert is,
Right.
in case you forgot.
How could you?
I mean, yeah, he's the
gun guy.
He's the guy.
He raised that whole family on Family Ties, and then he killed all those graboids.
And now he gets to lead his own movie.
That's right.
Michael Gross in the driver's seat for this one.
Yes. So we see him kind of take down an entire CGI herd of shriekers from the last movie and the Argentinian
He gets in
news
an
crew.
AA gun, and
A real AA gun
Yeah.
from a 50 caliber gun from World War II. That's a real one. Yes.
and then myrtleates them.
Yeah. There's a real working gun that they used.
Right off the bat, though, you see, like, all right, we're going to get more of this not good CGI. Like, they looked like, did you ever see that little interstitial that used to show on Disney Channel all the time of where they told you how they made the avalanche in Mulan and they made all the soldiers come down? That's basically what this was. Like, a bunch of fake CGI repeated the same graboid over and over.
Yeah, the CG is somehow worse, and I looked into a little bit, and they were not able to use even the same assets as Tremors 2. So they had to do. So what they did is they used laser scans of the prosthetics used in Tremors 2, which sounds cool and is in a viable VFX workflow today. However, not so much in 2001 when you don't have the budget, so everything ends up looking like poorly lit cardboard cutouts.
Yeah.
Okay, well, at least you can forgive, I guess, maybe because they were trying to say it was like the TV camera that was making it look that crappy.
Right.
But
Also, this scene took place at night, so
Yes.
Yeah.
it was not as bad as it could have been, or might be.
But now that makes sense because that's why we don't actually see any shriekers for the rest of the movie. They're only talked about off screen.
Right.
Yeah. I love that Bert is just like, just hold on, you guys, don't worry, and they're running at him, and everyone else is like freaking out. But even me, I was like, that looks like a lot of shriekers. Like even with that one gun, is he going to be able to kill them all? I don't know.
Justin, it's Bert. Of course, he'll be
that's
able to
true.
kill them
I should
all.
have known.
Yeah.
I should have known. But that was great. He gets up out of the thing after they had run away, and he's like, "Any questions?" And then it's like Tremors 3. Back to perfection.
And then we actually go back to perfection.
Yeah, and I guess we're led to believe that Bert drives his giant truck all the way from Argentina.
Yeah,
Yeah.
technically possible.
He
Maybe.
comes home.
I don't know.
Do they explain? Why he's back? Like,
No, it's like he's
He's just
always
coming
lived
home.
there.
Yeah, they hired him to come out to Argentina. Now he's coming home.
yeah, because he was dressed like he was like leading the army or something there.
Right.
And then I guess once he killed all the shriekers, he's like, "We're
They kind
done."
of make it sound like he's been gone for like at least a couple months with the Mexico trip and the Argentina trip, like
Right.
somehow combined. Because they keep saying, "Oh, you're back!" Like everyone's
and
talking about
and they're like, "Oh, you've dealt with him 3 times now."
Yeah,
Right.
And I think he's bought that new truck as his reward for the Argentina trip. It's like this big fancy new truck. He reveals that he's fortified the boundaries of his land to be completely graboid proof, both from the sides and the bottom now.
Right.
Yeah. And we go back to Chang's Market, which is now run by Jodie Chang, his niece.
Yeah, who is awesome in this movie.
She is amazing.
Can we just say that I was really I don't know, if you look up this movie anywhere, you can see like the DVD cover art, and it looks like someone used like random clip art to make a poster.
Yep.
And you're like, and so having seen that, not having seen the movie, I was like, oh my god, this is going to be so bad. But I found myself continually feeling like this is super charming and fun because like I was not expecting to have all these characters, like almost everyone from the first movie minus the 2 main leads are back.
It
this.
is. I don't know. Maybe I've said this before, but I feel like that this series is the one that is most true, installment to installment, to the one like the rules that were established in the previous one. Like it picks up exactly where it left off and
I love it.
continues
There's
forward.
so many references
Yep.
to past things, even things that you think like weren't that important, but like there's so many references. Everything has continuity. At one point they do talk about Rhonda and Valentine, and
Yeah.
Rhonda's a
Yep.
famous writer who sold all these books about her research on the graboids. And then they even mentioned that Earl and what was his name? Grady opened up a Tremors theme park.
Opened up the theme
Yeah.
park.
Yeah, they
My
actually
favorite
did.
is the meta joke where Desert Jack is on a tour. And he set up like a fake graboid tour, which we can talk about.
Desert
a little bit more.
Jack's Graboid Adventure, which sounds like I don't know if I'd want to go on that. Sounds a little sketch.
We'll get a little bit more into that later. But there's like tourists wanting to take like the town has been set up with like fake graboid stuff, and somebody goes, "Hey, let me take a picture of me with the tremor."
Yeah. I thought that was great. It was like a nice.
It's called a graboid.
Yeah, it was a nice meta joke about like
Absolutely.
the audience being like, "Aren't they fighting the Tremors in
Yeah,
that movie?"
yeah.
But yeah, we talked a little bit about the market. Right above the door is a picture of poor old Walter, and it says he was known for naming the graboid, which is like cute because that actually is true. So that's like his claim to fame, and that's what he wanted. So he's resting in peace, smiling down on his niece, who is now running the market and has turned it into like a graboid souvenir store, complete with the Tremors or the Graboid and Shriekers comics.
Yes. Which
that
they brought up a million times.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Dark Horse
the
comics.
comics are extremely popular in this universe.
Right. But they did misspell Shriekers.
Yes. It's Dark Horse Comics. I looked it up, and Dark Horse Comics, there's no actual comic of these, but they did draw those covers to be used in the movie, which is cool.
Yeah, there's a Graboids comic, a Shriekers comic, and then a Shriekers versus Graboids comic. Which really doesn't make sense kind of in the canon of the film, but comic books can do whatever the fuck they want.
right.
It's great. My favorite thing about the marketplace is that they have all these souvenirs and tchotchke things, and I'm like, they had a lot of them in the background. I was like, dang, what happened to all those things? I'm like, I want one of those little like plastic graboids.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or like even, I'll take a graboid, like
the graboid oven mitt
coffee
she
cup,
has.
lunch pail.
Yeah. I like the little flower pot because then you put dirt in it and it's like the graboid swallowed your little flower, your herbs or whatever. That's so cool.
Yeah, and it's like, they made all that stuff. I was like, dang.
So yeah, this is a movie that fully embraces its universe and fully embraces that it's a campy, silly, fun universe.
Yeah. It's really cool actually. Like a lot of the first half of the movie almost is like very similar to Tremors 2 that we just saw. And also I would argue that like I think for the first half of the movie at least it's like mostly more about like catching up with what these people were doing and what's happened to them since the first movie than it is even about the graboids. They're kind of like we're
like
back.
Bert's got it. Like
at the start of the movie we're back to a situation where it's like there's only 3 graboids instead of there being like a million as there were in Mexico or whatever.
Bert's still obsessed about him. Like at the moment we get back, there's no graboids in Perfection.
Right.
And everyone is being... They're very specific of, come on, Bert, it's been 11 years. Everyone in town tells him it's been 11 years.
Yeah. Everyone in town being, we've got Miguel back from movie 1.
Yes.
We've got Mindy and Nancy. Nancy's the mother of Mindy.
Bobby Briggs.
Yeah.
And Mindy. Sorry.
Yep. Mindy, Ariana Richards back, even though this is after Jurassic
This is
Park,
way
right?
after,
yeah. 2001, yeah.
Yeah, which is interesting because there's a lot of parallels, but she's back and they reveal that she had to drop out of college because she didn't have enough money to pay the tuition, so now she has to work at the Arby's in Bixby and chill at home. So
I mean,
she's kind of mad. Not happy.
Yeah, part of it's a little bit sad. You're like, none of these people got out of this town.
That's right.
Even the kids.
Well, I guess Melvin got out, but then he's coming back to try and make money.
Yeah, that's
so,
true.
Yeah, it reveals that
Melvin still being a dick.
Yeah, he's trying to buy everyone's land so he can build like a condominium.
He's
like,
building ranchettes. Yeah, it was funny because we're reintroduced to all these characters, and I'm like, awesome, and the movie keeps going. And I'm like, sweet, Melvin didn't come back because I did not like him. And then I don't know, like 40 minutes into the movie, he appears out of nowhere, and you're like, learn that he's the guy behind the real estate grab.
But they kind of acknowledge how much of a piece of shit
he
is by making him like this bad villain.
And he continues being like a douchebag in the entire movie.
Yeah. I did like how Jody, who's taken over the market, is like super smart. She's got her MBA. She the dude who runs the action tours is trying to bargain with her for more yield on the sodas and all this stuff. And he tries to say, well, I'm making up 50% of your business. And she immediately opens a binder and it's like, actually, it's only 20%. And it's not that stable. So that was really cool. And she's concerned about branding and making the market successful.
She continues the tradition of great female characters in the Tremors movies so far.
Yeah, absolutely.
And she's fucking no nonsense the entire movie.
Yep.
She's always
Asian.
Yeah.
She's an Asian woman co-lead, which killed me.
And this movie does a fun switch where Desert Jack is you think that him and Ariana Richards is going to be the couple.
Romance.
She's going out to his lame desert tour with his lame punk rock buddy.
And she's into him. She's he's so
super
mysterious.
Into him.
Yeah.
And then through the course of this movie, just by Judy being Judy, right? Jody, yeah. Just being badass and resourceful, they get a romance in a way that's kind of like the throwback to Val's romance in the first movie.
Yeah. Eliz mentioned it briefly, but that scene with Mindy and the punk rock guy where she's just talking how does a guy like that end up with a job like this? I mean, you're a piece of shit. I understand why you're fucking around with this shit, but him, look at how great he is. I love that scene. That was pretty fun.
Yeah, so and they totally make you think that that's going to be the couple. So I really, really liked that. It took a while before I even realized, shoot, that's how this is going. Awesome.
They just kept kind of getting, when the shit hits the fan, they would always kind of get partnered off, and then you slowly saw it build, fairly organically.
Yeah, I really didn't see it coming.
She's
cool.
she's making fun of him, poking fun of him, and
Yeah.
he's giving it back. It's fun. It's fun.
Yeah. So basically, he's doing. Do you want to talk about the fake Tremor tour?
Yeah, I mean, I actually love this idea because it's like kind of something we got excited about in Tremors 2, where it's like they're famous, like they were on Good Morning America, so like now Perfection is a tourist strapped. People want to go see where the Graboids were, although now all the Graboids are gone. And so what Jack or Desert Jack is doing, he just takes a bunch of people in a safari truck and drives out, and he has his buddy like fake a Graboid attack with fire extinguishers, and like some of the stuff is actually pretty awesome.
Yeah.
like where they have like barbed wire fence post rigged to like fall over like they're being chased.
And he had to like do the color coded, like pulling the right one
Yep.
so that the correct order of spokes.
I thought
along
the
fence
effects
fell.
he was doing on the tour were actually pretty cool, and it
Yeah.
kind of struck me like if he had just not tried to act like it was real, it would be cool. Like you'd be like, oh,
Yeah.
that was fun, like they
Yeah,
tried to
yeah.
scare us at the end,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
instead he like tries to act like it's real, then he forces everyone to stand on a rock and buy sodas from him.
Yeah.
So
That was fun. And later Bert gets a good like Disney joke in. He says like he's like, you're gonna have to cut out doing your jungle boat tour or whatever.
Yeah.
Because like he probably couldn't say jungle cruise or whatever.
yeah, I'm sure, yeah, or didn't want to.
But that was fun, yeah.
Your jungle boat adventure cruise
Yeah.
time.
So that's kind of when we get the first Tremors while he's sorry.
Whoa.
Graboid. We get the first
Are you a
Graboid
tourist?
while Jack is giving the tour, and it kills poor Buford.
His name was Buford, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
just what you
So
expect.
Buford's the guy that Justin was talking about earlier.
I don't remember his name.
Yeah, where she's like, yeah, like I understand why Aaron Richards is like, I understand why you're doing this, but like him, like Desert Jack's so handsome, and then Buford's like, I've had worse jobs. I used to, and then she's like, what? And then like it's actually like an embarrassing thing.
Sad.
Like he actually does a good job with the scene where he's like. Like, you think of, like, oh, well, he was complaining about some shit job. He's like, no, I was cleaning up roadkill for the county. And she's just like, oh, that's terrible.
Yeah.
Let's stop talking now.
But don't feel bad for that guy. He's a creep.
He sucked.
That's true. He was like looking at her ass with binoculars earlier, which is like
From, 3 feet away.
Such a creep.
It's like that you wouldn't even really be able to like you would just see the fabric like the denim.
Wow, those are nice jeans. Good stitching. I like it. Tight creases.
Yeah.
So after we all find out there's another Graboid, we found out that Bert has really set up like this whole contingency plan for everybody. He gave everybody radios and like antennas, and nobody paid attention and nobody maintained the equipment while he was gone.
Yep.
Which is really, really funny. Like, it's like, get that seismologist. Like, we can figure out everything is. And they're like, yeah, it's been on the fritz, man. Like, I don't know. I haven't had time to get around to it.
That's totally what would happen
Yeah.
in that situation, too. They'd keep it going for, like, maybe a year, and then
Right.
be like, there's nothing happening.
Yeah.
And then Nancy doesn't believe that Bert can, she's like, hey, this time our phone's not cut off. We can totally just call for help this time. We don't have to do your whole militia act, Bert. And he's just like, I love this line. I wrote it down. He says, we can't wait for the authorities. We are the authorities. Like, cause she's like, I'm going to call the authorities to come help us. And he's like, no, we're the authorities.
It's totally true.
It turns out to be true.
Yeah.
And then the authorities do arrive, and I also liked this, even though it was kind of stupid, because the police all get out of their car, and Miguel's like, my cousin left last week. He went back to Mexico. And Jack's like, my business is legit. I have licenses. And then Bert's like, the Second Amendment. You can't take my guns. And then they're like, no, we're here because of the Graboids. And they're like, oh.
That was a fun scene, yeah. They all immediately jump to whatever.
Yeah. Whatever thing that they're just like, oh.
Yeah.
Which is so true in those towns. Like, nobody's there because they're scot-free of they're squeaky clean.
So yeah, it turns out that they're trying to say the Graboids are an endangered species.
Graboids are an endangered species.
Which I thought was kind of an interesting, turn for the story to take. Like, the whole time, last episode in episode 2, movie 2. We're talking about
Attack
how
of the
they did
Clones.
all these evolutions, and the movie goes a lot. I mean, the movie eventually gets to like an evolution in this one, but it goes a
Yes.
long time before it gets there. And so I was like, oh, they're going with this interesting like
Government thing.
government coming in trying to regulate the graboids. Like that's kind of cool. I don't know. So I kind of like that as a start to like kind of kick off the story.
It's weird because I really did like the way this movie kind of moved through the plot, and because it kept surprising me, which is like, you know, I watch a lot of movies. It's not the easiest thing to do, but I was kind of like, whoa, oh my gosh, like it went ways that I didn't expect that I also then thought were cool.
Right.
So
And so, yeah, Bert gets roped into trying to capture one alive.
Right.
Is what they want to do. And we get all sorts of fun callbacks to the last I keep saying episode. The last movie.
And by the way, you were right to steamroll that Attack of the Clones joke.
Sorry. I was like,
You're absolutely correct. One of my favorite throwbacks is, and one of the reasons why I assume that they're endangered species, because we've established. I mean, one of the fun things about the first movie that we liked is that the graboids, we didn't know where they're from. They didn't feel the need to explain it. They still aren't really getting into it. They explain in the second one that they are from Earth and that they're just very, very old. And so that kind of opens up the door for the government protection of them.
They're Precambrian.
Precambrian, and and if you noticed in the store, there was a Cambrian soda, basically.
Ugh.
I did like too. I forget if it was Mindy or Nancy or one of them, but when the government officials are like, "These are ancient life forms, you know, like they're endangered species. We need to keep them alive," and then one of them goes like, "Oh man, I always hoped they were aliens." It's like, I bet you anything that was like probably because that's what people said after the second movie.
Yep.
came out.
Right.
Absolutely.
So we see Bert use the remote control cars again.
Yep.
He's got the chain behind the car as another thing from the last movie. What else?
Well,
Is
and
that
he's
it?
roped in Action Jack as his sidekick.
Desert Jack even says, "Oh, is somebody getting married?" And Bert's just like, "You need to shut the fuck up. Like, I know what I'm doing. This is serious business. I'm attaching cans to chains."
Well, and
Yeah.
it's kind of funny because in this first little, vignette of them going out and trying to get the first graboid here, you kind of think like, all right, we had the two guys in the first one and the two guys in the second one, and this must be now the two guys that we get in the third one. And then after this first scene, Jodie shows up at the end, and then she's with them the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
And it's just as big a part of it as both of them. So I thought that was great.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And so this kind of early trying to hunt the graboid leads to where Melvin comes back, right?
Uh-huh.
And then it leads to one of the really fun scenes
this, yeah.
in this where so Melvin has shown up and all of a sudden Bert's computer starts saying the graboid is nearby.
Right.
And they're like, shut the fuck up, Melvin. It's a graboid. And he's like, what? A graboid? No fucking way. And he's like, shut the fuck up. And Melvin, shut your goddamn mouth. And so the graboid attacks. And Bert gets fucking eaten.
Yes, he
Bert climbs into a barrel somehow, and the barrel gets
Yes.
eaten by the graboid wholesale. And this, I actually was like, what? I exclaimed, what the heck? You know, because I was like, I know this character anyways, but I just, I really couldn't believe this happened, and it was really just well, how's he gonna get out of this one, because I knew he was gonna live, but
Well,
it's just crazy.
I like that they actually take a moment and the music comes in all like a funeral bugle
Right.
kind
Yeah,
of.
and Jack's like, oh god, he's dead. He's
Yeah.
trying to wonder, how am I gonna tell the rest of the town? You see him.
They let you
think
sit
about
with it for a moment and think oh shit, he was a pretty big name, but maybe they could only get him for the first part of the movie.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's dead now. But then he comes in over the radio not much air. Go to my house, hurry.
Donkey Kong Country logic won't hold out for long. Barrel magic running low.
I thought that was great. And so then we get a payoff for the fact that Bert had built an entire steel-plated concrete barrier underground around his house. And he has Jack lead the graboid all the way through there and have him run into the wall just
And a callback to the first movie.
Yeah, just like
they
in the
killed
first movie.
Yeah, how they killed the first graboid.
Yeah, and then even after that, then Jack has to shovel all the dirt, and then
Oh no, it's amazing. Yeah, they
This was
shovel
great.
him out, and then it's like the most Evil Dead throwback that they have in these movies.
Yeah.
It gets like the throwback of the gore of like just how viscous and gross the graboids are, because Dan pulls out, or Desert Jack pulls out he's
got a chainsaw. Which I was like, whoa, watch out for Bert in
I
there.
know, I was worried he was going to cut him, but he makes it out. And then it's interesting, his reaction. Another thing I didn't expect. I thought he was going to be like, I have been in the belly of the beast and survived. I thought he was going to be all serious, but he just looks at Jody and Jack and he's like, we will never speak of this, and just walks away.
Yeah, and then Jody has this awesome line where she's like, yeah, you guys definitely need supervision. She's like, you guys are fucking crazy.
Dumb,
Oh man, that was an awesome part.
Yeah. So then we find out basically that the scientists and government people have effed up and gotten killed by the Shriekers.
Yep.
All off screen,
Right.
because you mentioned we don't have the rights to the
But
Shriekers.
but this is actually a great scene too. They have, it's another callback to Tremors 2, where like the one scientist that was with the FBI guy or the Department of the Interior guy comes like walking out of the desert, like covered in fire extinguisher spray or whatever, and he's just like, he looks like visibly shaken, and he tells this like harrowing story.
This is the closest the movie gets to horror. I think that because like it's kind of left by the wayside. Some of the horror elements and the scary parts of 1 and 2 had less of them, and this is just a full blown like fun action movie. But this is the scene that kind of has a little bit of that horror DNA.
And it's fun because it plays with like, as soon as you see him like that, having seen the previous film, exactly what happened.
Yes.
And so you're like, oh fuck. It's like shit has gone down. There's Shriekers now. Like, why else is he covered in this stuff? And I just thought that was a really fun scene to see him like explain like, there were just so many of them, and like we came across the graboid, and Bert's like, it was empty, right? It was
Yeah.
And it was just cool to see that kind of little bit horror in there.
Absolutely. And he's been impaled through the back, and then he dies.
Yep.
It's interesting that you bring up the thing about it not being as scary, and to me, the reason it's not as scary is because these creatures are CGI and they're not scary.
Right.
It was scary in some later scenes where they do have a practical version that they're kind of like wrestling with and it's like up in their face. But the CG versions, to me, like just were not scary. And so the first movie it still has like the best creatures in my opinion.
I mean, they're doing their best with the CG, but this movie relies further on CG than the previous films. And it's like, I don't know. It's okay for 2001, probably.
Yeah, it's not great. Like some of the
it just
stuff
doesn't hold up.
Some of the stuff looks worse than Clash of the Titans, like the original one.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I watched like a very brief special feature where you apart from the CG, you get a real sense that like everyone making this film like loves the franchise and they're like all big family and everything. But they talk a lot about the CG and how like much work they did,
right?
And like they do all this stuff about like, oh man, we made sure that the shadows show up, and when the thing, the monster is like touch the ground, there's dirt that flies up. So they went for it.
There's definitely just an age thing. It doesn't age as well.
There's a lot of effect shots in this. Like basically. Well, we'll get to what they're called, but
we're like tiptoeing around that.
There is a third evolution that might have been prophesized in a previous episode of Sequel Rights, but this is the same era as the Scorpion King, and if you remember when the full CG Rock came out, that it was hilariously bad.
It's perennially on the worst CG ever.
Yeah.
Like
that was
super
before
cuts.
we all had to respect The Rock. That's right. we still
That's
got
true.
to make fun of him back then, and
that's true.
Now he's like possibly a world leader.
So I think that it's this movie's ambitious in how many shots that it has, and at the time there just wasn't the technology wasn't there, and the movie suffers, but it doesn't break it.
I
don't think so. It's fine.
Yeah.
So do you guys want to get to the third evolution, or is there something else before that?
Well, we do get kind of an introduction that we are introduced to El Blanco, the last remaining graboid at this point, I think, because the other two have turned into Shriekers off screen. Two
one of
were
them
killed, one is Shriekers, and one is now El Blanco. And so Miguel, who actually, like, yes, he's played by an Italian guy doing a really ridiculous Mexican accent.
Bringing all the stereotypes.
Yeah, but I actually really did like this character in this movie because he was very smart.
Yeah.
And he really helped Bert a lot up until this point, and he like MacGyver's a fishing pole thing so they can get the radio and all this cool stuff. And then they see this graboid that's like weirdly white, like, and he's like, oh, you know, I once had a goat that was like albino, and so this must be like that. And the thing about that albino goat is that it was sterile. It could not have any babies. And so they're all like, oh, that's why he hasn't turned into shriekers yet. So they just kind of like set that up and then leave it there.
Yeah.
And then...
And the whole movie, they have this fun kind of like Moby Dick thing going on with El Blanco and Bert, where it's like always knows where he is and you don't know why. And
Bert even says like, "Call me Ishmael."
I know that was a little ridiculous.
I do like that we're setting up basically in this universe. If you name whatever it is, you get that credit, and that's the name of it forever. So it's like, you know, Chang set up graboids, and I think Earl or one of them set up the Shriekers, and this one, like Miguel sets up El Blanco, and it is El Blanco forever.
Yep.
Miguel gets and if we're doing throwbacks to other selves in the series, when he dies, it immediately the score goes to mariachi music. And then Bert pulls a rosary off of him.
That's true.
Yeah, it's stereotypical, but I also thought it was kind of like nice because it was like, oh, this character.
No, absolutely no. I love the character, but there was a hilarious turn in the last in Tremors 2 of like, oh, we're crossing the border, like fire up the horns.
Oh god.
And it kind of happens again.
Yeah, I did feel sad to lose him though. I don't know if I've like felt that sad genuinely to lose a character in one of these sequel rights movies since like, I don't know.
Yeah, it was a bummer because he's like
5 times you thought Fievel was dead.
No, maybe what was his name? Skinny and Step Up. The guy.
Skinny no.
Skinny no. I thought Miguel was great because like I feel like he was one of the few characters that like always had a smile on his face and he was just like a happy guy. And in this movie, like you said, he's really smart.
You felt like he was really like in it. Him and Bert were in it for like the good of the town.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so. Let's get into the third evolution. So, do you remember how exactly they discover this? It just kind of happens, right?
They find an egg.
Right. Earlier in the movie, they find an egg, and they're like, "What the fuck? There's an egg." They're like, "Oh, the shell of the egg is 300 years old, but the inside of it is like current or something."
Or just it was just opened up. So then they realize, okay, that's how we have this new wave of graboids right now.
Right. And then they're looking for shriekers, and they see something off in the distance, right? Because Bert had like he had like put a brick on his the gas pedal of the car, just drove it off so that they could escape the graboid that was in the area. And it crashed, and then they look down at the crashed car and they see what they think is a shrieker, and it turns out to be some other.
Nobody has seen shriekers in real life except for Bert, so they're kind of like, "Is that a shrieker?"
Yeah, they're like, "What is this?" And this weird-looking animal that kind of has like the teeth of its face is like the kind of like claw teeth of a graboid, right?
Right.
And it kind of looks like it's some kind of weird duck thing.
It looks like if
I'm trying to describe
an anteater fucked an ostrich.
Yeah. So it's got like this weird. It's got like a beak that's kind of like the graboid.
It's a mobile
claws.
creature though. It's not like a graboid that's just a dumb worm.
It's on two legs, but then it has these fins, like a back fin and a side fin.
It's like a turkey shark.
And the first thing I thought when I saw this, I was like, "Is that thing gonna fly?"
Yeah.
I think it's going to fly.
Kind of. It's more like falling with style.
Is it going to launch? Yeah, that's true. So they're looking at this thing. They're like, what the fuck is that? Oh, God, it's something different. Oh. And then all of a sudden it starts making this weird noise that I did not appreciate. I don't know. I don't even know if I can recreate it, but it sounds gross. Like, right?
Yeah.
It kind of sounded like
methane farts.
No, the noise it makes, so it does this noise when it's like rearing up to do its like launching thing, but it sounded like a gross, like it was jerking off or something.
Yeah. Let's cut to the chase. What it does.
Just like that.
Well, if you want to fly, you got to believe.
So yeah, Eliz, explain what it does.
Yeah, we're going to cut right to it. What it does is it farts out a flammable liquid, and then it lights its own farts on fire to fly into the air.
And then glides.
And then it can glide with its little, like, wings.
You could also say that it blasts itself into the air.
Maybe out of its ass.
Indeed, the nomenclature that they have are ass blasters.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Jody's like, we got to name these things, just like Walter Chang was.
It's a familial instinct.
Yes.
Fun fact: the Amalgamated Dynamics guys based that design on an actual beetle that does that exact same thing.
Cool.
That combines fluids in its body
That makes it less stupid.
Wait, that actually creates fire? Or
Yeah, it
just
does. It does that
causes
same
somehow?
kind of chemical reaction.
It might not
to-
be fire, but it's probably like some
A
sort of
gaseous-
propulsion.
Yeah.
Okay, all
but
right,
it does
yeah.
that same kind of chemical reaction to launch itself.
That is so cool. I thought they just made it up as a joke of like, haha,
yeah,
lighting
no.
farts
Apparently,
on
it's
fire.
based
is
on.
hilarious.
I don't remember the name. I don't remember the name of the beetle, but it's some sort of real beetle.
That's cool because I thought it was just a juvenile joke about lighting your farts on fire.
I mean, it is in the movie, but I learned from the Blu-ray
That does make it less stupid.
It does. It does. Yeah. Because they spend the whole movie just being like, "Duh, ass blasters, fart jokes."
So yeah, through a chain of events, we start to like form the new rules around the ass blasters, and we find out the Shriekers just kind of transform into the ass blasters at some point, and they have like the little radar thing on their head, just like the Shriekers did. So they have the
heat vision.
infrared, yeah, and they have the flying, but they cannot hear, just like the graboids. So you gain a few things, you lose a few things.
Which leads to the most hilarious distraction. If you thought Bert sending his shirt out on a clothing line was a dumb way to distract the Shriekers, you have not seen Ariana Richards throw a full Christmas ham that's already decorated for some reason that's just sitting out into a microwave for literally
2 seconds.
3 seconds.
Yeah, and then it's like, ding.
and then throw it as a heat detractor from this ass blaster. It's like, oh, well, this hot ham is obviously going to be a distraction. And it's like, you need to microwave a ham for...
Ham bomb.
I just thought it was so funny the way that they used her in this scene because it's like at this point this girl is worldwide famous for being scared, right? Like that, and
Yeah.
it just, I mean, she screams a few times, but it's not suspenseful,
Right.
And the whole scene again takes place with food, and it's in a kitchen, and she's
Yeah.
gonna use the food to distract the monster, but it's just so not like Jurassic Park that's hilarious.
Yeah, and we get to watch the CG ass blaster eat a ham and then also eat a sausage.
Yeah.
Like it eats like 3 different things.
Which the effects budget could have been used elsewhere.
Yeah.
Did not need to see it eat the ham. I wouldn't have bought it, but it actually would have been better if I didn't see it actually go for
But
it.
we learned from this that unlike the Shriekers, when the Shriekers eat food, they multiply. When the ass blasters eat food, they get all lethargic and like, bruh.
This has not.
I'm
they reveal
full.
this in the best possible way. Like we don't find out about it right away until later. So Bert and Jack and Jody all come back to his compound at some point, and they're running away from the ass blasters. And yeah, they all end up in his underground lair once again, and the ass blaster's chasing them, and they're like, all right, they end up going in. So obviously, because Bert has covered, and I thought this as soon as he said, I've covered the sides and the bottom of my compound, like so that no graboids can
What
get in.
about the top?
And,
Bert?
yeah,
What
in my
about
mind,
the
I
top?
was like, oh, this is the movie where we're gonna get flying, something.
Which, by the way, like his first thing was a bomb shelter. Like it would be fine.
Yeah.
It'd be fine.
Yeah, that's true. So, they're down there, and then within the bomb shelter, he has yet another panic room, which is where all the food is hidden. And then within that, there's a secret tunnel that you can slide out of.
Which on the IMDb,
It's like the asshole of the...
Yes.
Slide out this poop chute.
So in the second holdout room, one thing is universally clear if you look at the reviews on IMDb or on Amazon. People and Tremors fans are upset that they're like, this is bullshit. Bert would have had more guns in his second
I
holdout
did
room.
think about that. Yeah, why does
All the guns were in the first room, but the second room was food.
They're like,
only.
come on, Bert doesn't even have a holdout piece? Like, I refuse to believe it. Like, there are so many reviews that complain about that fact.
Yeah,
that it is
I mean,
so
that did
fucking
cross my
funny.
mind. I was like, why is it only food? He says they can survive for 7 years in there,
So, yeah,
give or take.
give or take.
So they can feel that the ass blaster is just pouring fire onto the door and that it's going to melt.
Which I thought was gross. They never show that, but I was thinking about it like, ugh.
It is gross. And again, he built that to withstand a nuclear blast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what about an ass blast?
No
No one expects the ass blast.
I stand corrected. You're right. Nobody does.
I mean, the
They
pure heat of
notice
it.
before they slide down.
Too bad he didn't have a ham.
That's true. Before they slide down the escape chute, Bert is once again bragging and talking about how great MREs are, the meal ready to eat.
Which is actually hilarious. That like it is a
coming
callback to like
Yeah.
we were talking about in the last episode of just like how much we loved him just reading the ingredients of the MREs.
Yep.
And then right before they go down the chute, they're like, wait, Bert, what's going to happen when the Shrieker finally breaks in here and eats all of your MREs and all this food? And he's like, crap, like he's like, all right, just go and I'll take care of it. And so they go. He doesn't know yet that they become.
I believe he says ass blast blitzkrieg.
Yeah. So he pours like 5 gallons of gasoline all over the food and then throws, lights it and then
Puts it right-
slides
he
out.
puts it right by the
the
door.
the tank of gasoline by the door,
Yeah.
so when it burns through, it'll
Got
ignite.
it. Yeah. And so then he goes out and escapes, and you hear the food storage blow up and obviously kill the Shrieker. And then he's like, and it's about to reach my ammunition in 3, 2, 1. And then a giant explosion.
The
The
biggest
entire
explosion.
compound is toast.
And again, we go back to Tremors' long-standing tradition of showing an explosion of no building and then just cutting to inserts of random debris.
Yeah.
falling
Well, this one was
separate from the explosion.
This one was pretty egregious. I think it's like
Stock footage
it's like
of an
window
explosion.
blinds and like a random shed that you never saw, and then a boat out of nowhere. Like,
And the boat doesn't like blow up or crash; it rolls down the hill slightly.
why would the window blinds make it all the way over?
It's really bad. It's really, really bad.
I don't
They're
know.
lying there on the grass with all the debris around them, and Bert's like, oh God, he's like mourning all of his guns. And then Nancy and Mindy call him on the radio, and they're like, Bert, guess what? The Shriekers, when they eat food, they don't multiply. They just go into a food coma. And he's like, well, like he basically has a mental
He's like, "My
breakdown.
precious babies."
Yeah, like he has a mental breakdown, and Jody's just like, Bert's not available right now, but thank you for the update.
He made so many memories with Reba. That's what he's sad about.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. Was this? Is it after this or before this where they had actually killed one and kind of do a little bit more of explaining about like what the whole evolution is?
I believe they had killed one before.
Well, we learn somewhere in the movie they
Yeah.
kill one and look inside of it, and they see that inside the ass blaster there's one of those eggs.
Yes.
And so we learn that this evolution is like a cycle. It's the graboids and the shriekers, then the ass blasters, and the ass blasters fly away to deposit the eggs around.
So they can
far
go
as possible.
They
further.
previously established that scientists said the egg lays dormant for 300 years. So it's like, if we can just get past these ass blasters, like, it's not our problem anymore. Sorry, future Earth.
Yeah.
Like-
Yeah. Well, this leads to what might be the worst,
Yeah, it's the worst.
funniest,
Worst.
worst scene in the movie. So all the Bert's place has exploded, and now they have no way to hide from the they have no way to get away or hide from the ass blasters because they can see your body heat and everything, right?
So at this point, all of the Shriekers are ass blasters, so we don't even really know how many there are.
Yeah.
And also, El Blanco is still kind of around somewhere that we
Right.
don't really know.
So they can't use Bert's car because it just got blown up. And Jack is like, oh, luckily, we have something we can use. And he looks over and it's like, there's the boat and a blue tarp. And so they decide to hop in the boat, put the tarp over themselves, and then push the boat down a hill, right?
Yeah, that's what happens.
And there's this like scene that goes on really long where it's like It looked like they had fast forwarded the footage or something because it's kind of like this weird like Three Stooges type.
Because a boat rolling down a hill doesn't look great or exciting.
I don't even remember this scene, to be honest. I think I must have like taken a couple bites
Oh
of my
my
sandwich
god!
or something.
Yeah,
like,
so there's a scene. It's like rolling down the hill, and everyone's like freaking out, like, "Oh god, oh Jack!" And Jack is using like an oar or something to like kind of steer it, but they're on just like the dirt, so it just looks really bad.
And then they end up in a junkyard, right?
Well, they crash into Melvin's billboard,
Right. And then we get to so they're kind of hiding around trying to find something that they can do to kill the ass blasters.
Yeah, because like you said, they get to that junkyard and
before this, they've killed them with guns. They don't like Bert's guns get blown up, so they know they can kill them.
But now they have nothing.
They got nothing.
Oh, also, when they examined the body and found that egg, that's when they figured out that they've got this flammable liquid, and that's how they work. Yeah.
And then we get a throwback that part of me loves and part of me hates so fucking much. Where so they're hiding around this junkyard trying to find something that they can use to kill these ass blasters, and so Desert Jack decides, well, I think there's one around this corner. Let me just see. And if everyone remembers in 2, that cool knife reflection trip that Bert does, be like, oh, like were these shriekers right here? Well, Desert Jack picks up a goddamn toaster.
Sounds like that would have to be a pretty brave little toaster.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I was also at the time thinking, like, is this supposed to be some sort of like Jurassic Park callback to?
There's so many Jurassic Park,
and it's just him holding it, and he's like, oh, it's right there. But the way that it's shot, it's like, of course it's right there. Like, you can hear it.
And then they I think they kill that one just by like tipping boxes over on it. And they're like, yeah, got it.
So yeah, you can smash them. We established that you can, if you put some kind of fire at them, they will explode extra because they've got all this flammable liquid inside of them. And at some point, they all run into a porta potty, at which I was just thinking, like, I'm confused now as to what actually blocks heat. Like
mattresses.
Yeah, mattresses, porta potties, maybe a cardboard box, a building, but not really, a car, but not really. I mean, in the second movie, they used a door. They're all walking behind that door. So I just don't even know anymore what blocks heat.
Any material that's not yourself.
So, whatever.
Hams are amazing conductors of heat.
So in the porta potty, they come up with this plan.
That's how long it takes me to cook my Christmas ham every year.
Right.
2 minutes in the oven, done.
Basically, they come up with a plan that they're going to find in the junkyard and make these flaming arrow cannons out of pipes.
Make a potato gun. Yeah, that shoots wrought iron stuff.
Yeah, I was
Wrought
like, a
iron
potato what?
stuff.
Like, that's a thing that people do?
It's a real thing.
I absolutely built a potato cannon.
You didn't ever do that in high school?
No, I'm a girl. I'm from Southern California, and my mom is extremely anti-gun.
Oh, I think they did it in like science class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah.
But you use like PVC pipe and stuff. But yeah, we get another like.
I was also a big pyro, so.
Oh, I thought you were going to say pirates.
Yeah, I'm also like I'm the opposite of that. So I would never like do blowing things up. There's no way.
We would take hammers to fireworks to make them blow up bigger.
Yeah. I was like, this movie gets 2 awesome MacGyver scenes. We get Miguel with the fishing pole, and then these guys with the potato gun.
Yeah. Which makes it kind of like Rain of Fiery, where that Matthew McConaughey Christian Bale movie.
Oh,
where
yeah.
they fought dragons.
Exactly like that.
So they need fluid, and Bert finally finds like a thing of booze in the trailer of that guy that got killed in the first movie, who was a booze hound.
Nestor.
Yeah. So I guess that's like a random callback.
That's
like,
an
I didn't even
amazing
remember
callback.
which one Nestor was.
Yeah.
I had to like go look it up.
He was the guy who died on the
the
town drunk.
So.
Yeah. I had to think. I was thinking about that for like 10 minutes after that scene happened.
Yeah.
Like, who was Nestor? Oh yeah.
So yeah, he finds the booze stuck in his old trailer, and then they start shooting these ass blasters out of the air with flaming arrows.
Yeah, which was
cool.
pretty cool.
And Jodie kills one.
She does.
And what does she say when she does it? She says, "Blast it out your own ass." Which
That's a great one-liner. Yeah.
So they kill.
And she brags about killing it like, I got one, whatever. Yeah.
And Bert keeps saying, don't get cocky, though, because remember, they always learn. When you start figuring out how to kill a few of them, they always start to learn. And at some point, one of them makes it into the trailer that they're hiding in. And this was the only time I felt that these ass blasters were really scary, because they did use a practical front of a head to be like in Jody and Jack's face. And they're like, they're like pushing the claws away from them and stuff. That actually like looked good to me.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and then we learned that El Blanco is back, right?
Yes, yeah. El Blanco, they start to notice that he's like in the area.
Right. Yeah, and Bert's like, God damn it, he always fucking knows where I am. How the hell?
Bert realizes that some special supersonic watch that the Argentinian government gave him as a gift is actually attracting graboids, the underground ones.
And I will say, just to chime in about what people have said on the internet comments about this movie, is that those watches, like it's like one that like they go like sync to like the atomic clock at like in Denver.
Yeah,
somewhere.
and he talked about
Using
it, but I was
sonic
like, okay,
waves.
whatever. Yeah.
But so what the internet has said is that that watch receives, but it doesn't transmit. So the graboids would not be able to hear the frequency coming from it. So thank you, internet. But in the movie, it makes total sense that he has this very, very fancy watch that is emitting a sound that makes it so El Blanco always knows where he is and is attracted to it.
So this is the part that sort of infuriated me, because Bert falls out of the trailer and lands on an upside-down mattress or box spring or whatever, and the spring's attached to his vest that has like 1 million pockets in it, and so he can't get up. And he's like, I'm stuck, cut me out of this thing, cut the springs with that knife and blah, 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 and get out my leather and this and that. At no point does he just take off the vest.
I know.
Like, just scurry out of that vest and run away. But
Survival 101. Never remove your vest.
He literally spends the rest of this scene tied to this box spring and refusing to take off his vest.
Never remove your vest.
You got to take out your most powerful character during the final.
That's right.
That's true.
Climactic
so
moment.
Action Jack basically takes the supersonic watch and pulls like a Jurassic Park situation here. He throws it and it gets stuck on one of the ass blasters, and then El Blanco comes up and eats
the T-Rex shows up to save the day.
Yeah. Which I was kind of like, oh, come on, but whatever.
I thought it was clever. It was
clever.
Yeah. And so El Blanco kills the final ass blaster.
And I thought that ass blaster would like explode inside of El Blanco and El Blanco would die too, but it turns out that's not the case.
Yeah. El Blanco lives at the end of this movie, right?
Yeah. So then we basically go to the end of we get our little epilogue, and we find out that Nancy and whatever Jurassic Park girl have duct taped like that other ass blaster and keeping it like as a pet that people can look at, but they end up selling it to the highest bidder so that she can go to college, which was Siegfried and Roy.
Yeah. She's like, the buyers from Vegas came in with a higher offer. Should we do it? And they're like, yeah. And then she's like, Siegfried, Roy? It's yours.
Ass blaster is yours.
Yeah. Which I thought was so kind of ridiculous.
It's insane.
I didn't think that it was funny enough when she was like, the buyer's from Vegas, and you're just like, oh, I wonder who that is. And then it was just over the top that she's like, Siegfried, Roy?
And then basically,
I have the name of your demise right here.
They don't really explain how they do this, but they create some kind of enclosure where they're going to keep El Blanco there, because as long as he's there, Melvin cannot develop any properties. And they all
fuck you, Melvin.
Screw Melvin over.
It's funny because Bert specifically says, like, everyone in this town hates you enough that we will keep like this deadly monster in our town just so that you can't make a buck.
Yeah. And then he strands him on a rock to die.
And also at this point, it's like, Bert can't rebuild his compound here, right? Because
I think he could probably rebuild on his own property.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
Yeah, you just can't develop new things. That's how it kind of usually works with ADA stuff, I know, but I don't know.
And I think this movie has my favorite like ending of all the films so far, because Melvin comes back out and meets Bert out in the desert. And he's like, what the heck, Bert? Like, you're never going to take my offer? And he's like, well, now nobody can take your offer. And explains that. And then, like I said, strands him on a rock. And the movie fades to black and goes into the credits with Melvin yelling like, "God damn it, Bert! I hate you so much, Bert! You suck! Fuck you, Bert!" And then like the credits start rolling, and he's still going like, "Screw off, Bert! I can't believe you fucking made me like this!
Town.
God damn perfection! Fuck you!"
It's like, you right-wing piece of
And
shit.
him yelling like goes like over the credits for like 20 seconds
awesome.
before it fades out.
I
thought that was
to
great.
mention too, we don't get a big kiss in this one, but Jody and Jack, it's implied that they kind of get together.
That's right.
And Mindy's looking at them, and she's like, "Ugh, older women." It's like, no, just age appropriate women. They're the same age, and you're 19. So shut up. Yeah.
What did you? I know we didn't talk about him too much, but what did you guys think of Jack kind of coming in as the little bit of the sidekick character?
I liked him better
Kevin
than
Bacon?
Grady.
I started out hating him more than Grady, and then came to like him
I think he
more.
was way better than Grady. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
he had more personality and it wasn't.
He did.
Yeah, Grady was almost more like a Melvin character.
Yeah. He had an arc like where like he sucked and then he sucked
Less.
Then he sucked less.
Well, and you kind of need like a doofy guy and a handsome guy, which was the original formula.
But I think,
then Fred Ward was still like pretty handsome, so they're like, all right, we'll get somebody really doofy.
Yeah.
And now you got Bert, who's obviously much older than anybody, and also really, doofy. And so they're like, let's get another handsome guy in
I think he
here.
just had way more like charisma than the Grady character, who seemed more of like the doof, like you said,
Yeah.
and just like more of a whiny guy in
it's
general.
it's almost like they knew about that because like Buford was kind of the Grady character and they just killed him.
yeah, that's true.
And
that's
then,
true.
like, it's interesting how, like, right now at this point, there's 3 movies, right? You had one that was really like your Kevin Bacon arc, and then you really had your Fred Ward arc, and this one's like Bert's arc. So, and the other 2, Jody and Jack are co-leads or whatever, but like, they're second to Bert.
yeah.
So all Jody.
all Jody movie.
Next movie.
I wish in my
That would-
wildest
that would
dreams
be great.
that would be
Yeah.
the case.
So I think it's time to find out how many 2-second hams would you guys give out of 10 for this movie? Tyler?
I'm gonna give it 6 2-second hams. But it does have pineapple on top.
Pineapple. Okay, yeah, that's true. The one in the movie did.
It did.
For some reason. That's how they come. Eliz, what about you?
I'm also going to say 6 hams.
Whoa! Are we going to go 666 on this?
Don't.
Sign of the beast.
Then we'll have to
Sign
stop
of the
and do
asshole.
the
I'm going
math.
to give it a 6 as well!
Omen series.
Yeah, so I think I gave both of the last ones 7s, and like I said early on in this episode, I think that I was really surprised. I was really surprised by how much I enjoyed this movie. Like, I was ready for it to be like a steep decline, and just the fact that they brought all these characters back and like. This is another straight to DVD thing. Like, they didn't have to go to those lengths to keep the continuity, bring back all these familiar faces that we, arguably missed from the last movie.
Yeah.
A little bit.
As much as there's budgetary things that make this movie feel like it's not up to the same quality as other ones, there is definite care for these characters and for the locations and the creatures and the CG. We talked about it being not great, but it was them really going for it with the technology that they had, and they didn't know at that point in time when you're doing that and making a film, you're rolling the dice in 2001 in terms of what it's going to look like.
And they probably thought it looked great, which then it probably did.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, it looks better than Jar Jar Binks or whatever in the original.
Yeah.
Unspecialized.
Tyler, were you upset with the evolution this time as you were last time?
No, I mean, once you already break those rules, then no. I mean, I just really loved. I mean, I was thinking about this a little bit more. Like, we got into that whole thing. I was like, well, they probably ran out of things to do, and it's like, well, you don't run out of things to do with the Dracula.
Yeah.
Like, I wanted to see more of those original. I don't know. I still really love the idea of setting up that myth. At the same time, it is fun to see them evolve. It is fun to see that they always learn. And one of what they decided is a more important tenet than being quiet and staying off the ground and going to the rocks is that they will always learn. They will always be smarter in a way that makes them scarier than most of the monsters that are out there.
Yeah, and this one too, like apart from just being another evolution, they did a really good job to help fill out the mythology using this new evolution. Like they they made it be like it's a circle of life type of situation.
Yeah, so it's technically like closing the loop on the life cycle. So
Exactly.
Even though we've established that they evolve and that they get smarter, we haven't seen them evolve any physical traits. And we assume that they probably won't because within our lifetime, because these eggs, gestate for 300 years.
Right.
So we're not going to see them be like, oh, now all of a sudden we've got,
now we avoid all humans with mustaches.
Yeah, something like that. So
we have anti-mustache sense.
I did have a child star check-in, actually.
What?
On Tourist Boy #1 and Tourist Boy #2.
Oh, yes. I forgot about the tourists.
From Action Jack's tours. So one of them is
Desert Jack.
Jason Hopkins. He went on to be in Veronica Mars and Van Wilder. And while he was in Tremors, he was also a Starbucks manager, and then he became a Trader Joe's regional manager, and then he opened 15 Pinkberries in the Massachusetts and Connecticut area, and now he is an area manager of a chain on the East Coast called Sweet Green, which is kind of like an upscale, fast casual.
Is it like
salad
Tender
place.
Greens?
I think so. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not familiar with it, but I looked at their website.
Freaking ripoff.
Yeah.
So he's very successful. Like 15 Pinkberries. That sounds like a lot.
Yeah. Those are so hard to manage.
We only have 3 pink berries between us. So
Yeah. Hey, refill the thing.
yeah.
And then Tourist Boy #2
Lock the door.
is Matthew Seth Wilson, who was in this and is in a future Tremors movie, and I'm assuming is related to S.S. Wilson. And I could not find anything else about him, so maybe someday we'll get to ask him what's he up to.
Very cool. Well, that was, I think that's going to bring us to the end of Tremors 3, Back to Perfection.
Indeed.
Next week, we have a very exciting episode for you guys. A couple things. First of all, the next movie we're talking about is called Tremors 4. Tremors 4, The Legend Begins.
Ooh.
So what do you guys think that means?
Sounds like a prequel to me.
Prequel, huh? Okay. What about,
yeah.
what if we get a new hero?
We
Their legend is beginning.
could have that.
I'm going to make something up and say that it's actually a movie completely told from the Graboid perspective, and
It's the Benji Graboid movie?
yeah, and we find out why they think they have to eat humans that make sound.
Oh my god.
That's the real legend.
That would be amazing.
Stop making all that noise. You're going to bring the goblins down.
Eliz, where can people, give us some love?
Yeah, so you can find all of our past episodes at sequelrights.com. I just want to give a shout out to the official Tremors franchise fans group on Facebook. If you're coming here from there, they're like really into Tremors, obviously, and it's a cool group.
We love
Like,
you guys.
Yeah,
everybody
these
is
guys are
really
crazy
chill
in a
there.
great way.
I especially like this one guy whose wife made like Graboid buns like out of bread that looked like
Oh,
Graboids.
what?
It was so cool.
Oh my
That's
God, we
awesome.
should have a bake-off episode where we do that.
Yes! That's so
Yeah,
cool.
thanks if you're coming from there. Check out all our past episodes, like we said. We're on Facebook at Sequel Rights, Twitter, and Instagram at Sequel Rights. And you can always email us about anything at sequelrights@gmail.com.
And rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. We appreciate it. And stay tuned for our interview with S.S. Wilson. Thanks. See you guys next week.
Broke into the wrong goddamn rec room, didn't you, you bastard?
Hey guys, thanks for sticking around for our interview with S.S. Wilson. Just wanted to give you a heads up that there were a couple little technical issues with the audio throughout, but it clears up pretty quickly each time it comes up, so we hope you guys enjoy it. Thanks. We're here right now with S.S. Wilson, co-creator of the Tremors franchise. We are so excited to have him here today. Steve, thank you for being with us here at Sequel Rights.
Happy to be here.
This is just really exciting for us. So I wanted to just kind of start things off by asking a little bit about like where the idea for the film originated.
Okay. Let's see. So my partner Britt Maddock and I had sold a couple, 3 fairly high-profile screenplays. Mm-hmm. Finally, after 10 years of knocking around Hollywood, not doing anything, and we came out of producing and directing and writing short films for schools and libraries back when there was such a thing. And so we were used to doing everything. We had met at USC, the graduate program at USC Film School, and we were used to doing everything: shooting, writing, shooting, cutting, doing sound, putting the movie out. So when we sold Short Circuit and subsequent projects that we worked on, we were sort of stunned at the fact that writers were not only not part of the production process, but not welcome a lot of the time. And so we missed having total control over our stuff. And our agent said, well, you guys, you're talking about producing, you're not talking about writing in Hollywood. And you're going to have to come up with something that you completely control, and we'll try to sell it that way. So go into your file box and come up with something that we can generate on spec. Because, we were kind of going from project to project, just being hired by people to do whatever they wanted done. So we said, okay. And she was the one actually who picked what we called land sharks at the time. And the idea was, it was loosely based, it was based on a note that I had made. I had a brief job working for the Navy, making movies out in the desert where the Navy had a base, oddly enough.
Oh, wow.
And it's out in the Mojave Desert, actually not too far from where we actually ended up shooting Tremors, oddly enough. And there's these bizarre rock formations out there. And on the weekends, when I was working, I would hike around the area, and somewhere along the line I made a note, what if there was something that could move through the sand, like a shark or a fish or something, and I was trapped on this rock. That's all it said. And but she said, well, that sounds interesting, that sounds different. So then Brent and Ron Underwood and I sat down and worked out an outline. And it's funny now, now that it's a franchise, because everybody thinks they know what Tremors is, and I think studio executives probably think they would have bought it, but they didn't.
Right.
And we pitched it first as a pitch, because we were, we could get a meeting with anybody. We were fairly high profile guys at the time. And couldn't sell it. And then we wrote an outline, 25-page treatment, very, very detailed, couldn't sell it. So our agent said, well, you're going to have to write it. You just write the script on spec and we'll try to sell it. And we did that, and she then very carefully handpicked the executives that it would go to, knowing the town really well as she did. The whole business has completely changed. The way stuff is sold and the reason stuff is sold is all different now. But at the time, she kind of knew that it would get passed on all over town, and it did. But she also knew that Jim Jacks at Universal was an executive who really knew movie history. He would really get the sort of 50s sci-fi vibe and understand it, and he did. And he went to the studio heads and fought for it, and continued to fight for us all the way through production. So because of Jim and Nancy's handpicking these people, and then at the 11th hour, Nancy involved Gail Ann Hurd, partly to support getting Ron on the movie. Because Ron Underwood, we were determined that our friend Ron would direct. He was the one who originally hired us back in the day in the educational world, and so giving you probably more detail than you really want to. But anyway, those were all the steps. Those were all the steps that were required, and then it finally sold, and finally got a green light for a low budget movie, and then the last piece that was needed was that Ron had to convince Kevin Bacon. If we got Kevin Bacon, we had no movie. And if we did get Kevin Bacon, we did have a movie. And thankfully, Ron went to lunch with Kevin, and Kevin said yes.
Yes. And we are thankful for all of that as well.
Yeah.
So after all that hard work, bringing that first movie together, were you guys surprised at the reaction to it once it was released, and like the reaction to it on home video and everything after the fact?
Well, it was a very slow motion surprise.
Yeah, well, yeah.
the movie, it did okay, but it was not the hit the studio was expecting, and it's the only time in my entire career that a studio executive called me, and the head of Universal called me personally and said, we blew it. We blew the campaign. I'm so upset. But the reality was, nobody still knew what Tremors was. We didn't know that we had done this sort of genre twisting thing. We just did what we liked to do, and we had certain rules going in that made it what it was. And there were certain 50s tropes that we refused to do. For example, we said there will not be, the star will not be the head of the National Guard or the local sheriff or any of those things. It will be these two handymen who don't even want the job. And those were all strange ideas, and they were comedic ideas. And so the studio marketing department didn't know how to sell the movie. And it's not like we knew. It's not like we were telling them, oh, you're making a mistake, other than with the poster, which we thought was terrible. But even there, they actually did what we asked. We begged them, don't show the graboids in the trailers. Don't show, the movie is structured so that the graboids are a surprise. You've got to understand this. The audience will be surprised the first time they see it. Okay, well, we'll just show the tentacle and put teeth in it. Oh my God. So, the monster guys, the Tom Woodruff and Alec Gillis, equally horrified at the poster. Because it was so Jaws, too. The poster was Jaws. And
Yep.
Really?
Yep.
Jaws in the dirt? Really? So anyway. So the movie was, it was not a huge hit. And Kevin was disappointed. That's why he didn't want to come back to Tremors 2. Or one reason he didn't want to come back to Tremors 2. But, so we forgot about it. We moved on. We had great fun making it. It was everything we wanted it to be. We had total control as writers. We bugged Ron all the way through the movie. We were on set every day, bothering Ron and bothering the cast and nitpicking about everything. I ended up shooting second unit because I had done a lot of that kind of thing on the educational movies. And Ron said, well, you should just shoot second unit. And so we had great fun, but, made its money back, and that's about it. Yeah. So it was years later, it was with the advent, as you know, obviously, but the home video market began to grow and grow as a thing. Mm-hmm. And so one day we get this call from the home video division of Universal, which we did not know existed. And they said, hey, we would really like a Tremors 2 for the home video division. And we said, oh, okay. And this was going, this was a new thing, and it was going like gangbusters, and they said something that ultimately, all these years later, has proved to be true. They said, we can sell anything called Tremors. We could sell an empty VHX box called Tremors. I think that's a compliment, but I'm not sure. And so suddenly, here we were thinking about a sequel, and we, it was all very surprising. We said, yeah, absolutely, we'll do it. And so the only rule we had for Tremors 2 was no Queen Graboid. There will be no Queen Graboid. That's the only thing we know. And and beyond that, what was funny about the division, because they just wanted a box called Tremors 2, we had total control again. We said, there'll be no Queen Graboid. We don't care. Well, Steve will direct it. We don't care.
Yeah, what was it like to step into the director's chair for the second film?
Well, directing is a blast. It is something I never thought I wanted to do. I'm a reclusive person. I was an animator for years in the educational market, working in my garage doing stop motion animation. And I was a writer, another solitary profession. And when Ron asked me to shoot second unit on Tremors 1, I was horrified, because I ended up with this crew of like 100 people, and I was like, oh my God, I can't do this. But then I realized I could do it, and I got the bug, and I got to, yeah. It's like being a king, If you know what you're doing, and if you treat people well, if you are open to ideas, you can be a jerk and be a director, and a lot of people are, but you don't get the best work out of people if you do that. And so you end up getting credit for all these incredibly talented people. That's what happens. If you just stand back and say, hey, I want the explosion over here and not over there, or I want the explosion bigger, that's my job on Tremors 2. Bigger explosions. That's why the Shrieker blows up the way it does when Bert shoots it.
That is a great shot. It's like a
Well,
fountain.
It's interesting. We tested that over and over. The effects guys would come to me between takes. We're shooting somewhere else, and they say, okay, we have a test Shrieker rigged to blow with a squib. And I go over and Pop, and I go, guys, it's a 50 caliber. No. And come back the next day, here it is, bang, guys, it's a 50 caliber. So I actually didn't know when we actually shot it. I actually didn't know what it was going to do.
Oh my God.
So it was funny even to me.
That's amazing.
I was just curious, in the writing process for Tremors 2, you guys are scaling up. Like, that totally makes sense with you guys having total control, and just the genesis of the project in general is just you guys wanting to have the creative freedom, and I think that comes across in all of these movies and why they're so endearing. And I was just curious, for 2, you had some CG shots, 1 or 2 in Tremors 1, and there's a lot more in 2, and I'm just curious, with your background as an animator and in the writer's room, when you have a scene of, X many shriekers come over the hill, is it your background in animation that made you confident that you could do that? Because it's a really swings for the fences for the sequel, and I think it succeeds.
Yeah, it was certainly sort of it was just becoming a thing, and it was just becoming doable, given that people were willing to cut their rates for us on our low budget movie. It's funny when you say there's CG in Tremors 1, there are map paintings and there are miniatures. There isn't actually any computer imagery. It's that old, but. We had hopes, but again, we would go to our people and say, look, what can we do? Here's how much money we have. And what can we do? And, I'm blanking on the animator. The brilliant animator who did our Shriekers, he had done a test for us, which helped us actually realize that we could do it. So it isn't so much we wrote it because we knew we could do it. It was we would suggest things and say, how many Shriekers can we have? And they would say, look at the budget, and and everybody would ham and haw. Well, maybe we can do 7. Okay, well, we'll do 7. And then you design your shots. You back into it and you design your shots. So the sequence where we were pretty sure we wanted it was when they stack up. We couldn't see a way with the puppets, which are big and heavy and bulky, and lots of cables running out of their feet and everything. Even when we couldn't see a way to do that idea. We loved that idea. So that's how we sort of backed into, let's do that with CG. And it was an uphill battle, all the technology was old and funky, and it was hard to get the stuff to match. It still doesn't really match, if you're honest and you look at it.
Yeah.
It works emotionally, but it's not Jurassic Park.
You spoke a little bit about the rules that you guys had for the films, and you didn't want to have a queen graboid. What was the process and kind of the rules around how you evolved the mythology for each subsequent sequel, and the evolutions with the graboids themselves? What was kind of the process behind coming up with those ideas?
Well, it was a give and take, and it was always a surprise. The studio was forever saying there's only going to be one more movie. We know we can sell Tremors 2, so that's what we're making. And it was okay. So we said, okay, we came up with the Shriekers, and that's good, that's different. And they not immediately, but fairly soon said, we need Tremors 3. We went, really? Well, okay. Because again, we weren't really ever thinking franchise. You didn't think franchise back in those days.
Right.
Quick sidebar, when Short Circuit 2 came up, our agent lobbied us heavily not to do it. The sequels were for hacks. Nobody did sequels. The originators never did sequels. Imagine saying that today. And so we were, to some extent, each time they came to us, we kind of frantically started making it up as we went. Not that we do that when we write. We outline like crazy when we write, and we always have to know exactly where we're going. We sometimes outline longer than we write, actually. But so they came to us with Tremors 3, and it was, wow, we want to be consistent. Oh, let me back up too. Something that was always important to us, and I think it's fairly evident in the 4 movies anyway. very important to us to be true to the fans of these kinds of movies. Now they rule the marketplace, but when we were doing these movies, it was still the niche market of kind of comic book nerdy people, and I am deeply one of those, and I knew what we like. I knew that we like consistent rules, and we love, homage and little ideas that are consistent throughout the project. And then Brent and I, as writers, we had figured out what our tone was by then. We figured out we knew what Tremors was then, and we knew we had this blend of comedy and horror. And it's not an easy blend to get right. And a lot of times we would write stuff into the scripts that were too funny. Even Tremors 1. There was a previous draft of Tremors 1 that was too funny. Had jokes that were at the expense of the monsters, or jokes that were, it's not a line that somebody would really say in a situation. We tried to always have people say what they would really say, but it's also funny. So anyway, so then we backed into, well, gee, we need another thing to happen now. It's not going to be a Queen Shrieker. So what is it going to be? And in this case, again, we had these people coming back to the movies, the guys at ADI and the Scotex, often came back, because people enjoyed doing the movies. They were these little, just a small group of people shooting for 20 days or whatever we had. And, it was Tom and Alec at ADI who had the idea for the ass blasters, because we said, what do we do? What are the Shriekers changing? What are they shaking? And they base everything they do on reality. Their creatures are fantastical, but have a reality base because they know so much about biology and zoology, and the whole studio is full of books of just weird details about animals. And they said, have you ever heard of the bombardier beetle? And we were like, no. It's this beetle. This is the way it gets away from prey. It mixes chemicals in its butt and explodes its butt. And you go, no. And it does, absolutely. You can go watch videos of it online. And we're like, oh my God, well, that's it. That's the ass blaster. That's our monster. So then we decided it would fly. We thought that would be cool. And then we decided to up the ante by having it see differently from the way the Graboids and the Shriekers did.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and it's amazing because it ends up making this kind of like loop within the species, like a circle of life type of situation, and it's all very connected. I love that. I love that.
Oh, good. Yeah, well, that was always what we were trying to do, and of course. And the studio swore up and down that Tremors 3 was the last movie.
Yeah.
So that's why we closed the loop. We said, oh, perfect. We get to close the loop. We'll tell a complete story. And then they immediately wanted Tremors 4.
Oh, man.
So I was wondering, the female characters in the first 4 Tremors films are some of the most practically dressed, intelligent, capable women ever in film, especially at that time. So I was wondering what kind of efforts or discussions took place around that subject, and why do you think that you and your team were so great at creating these really strong female co-leads?
I am so glad to hear that, because I do feel like we were ahead of the curve, and it wasn't like we set out to do that. In a way, it's something that we felt was important from the get-go. We always knew. I guess I would say that in some instance, all of our discussion about character in Tremors 1 was we will not do any 50s tropes, other than that the girl is a scientist. And so everything about Rhonda was going to not be, the helpless person being helped by the sheriff who doesn't know anything and shouldn't know anything. And so that mindset was there going in. And then I guess both of us we just like capable women anyway. So that was something that then just continued through all the movies. But I am glad to hear that, because it is something that we don't often hear. The one thing I get from geeky fanboys is, Rhonda's not very sexy.
What? Come on.
And I always go, have you looked at Finn Carter? But,
Oh my goodness, that is great. Okay.
I have actually heard, I answer questions still on the Stampede website, and I don't put them all up there because some of them are not appropriate, but but I do get the wackiest questions.
Okay. So on the subject of inclusion, then, I think also the first 4 movies really showcase a diverse cast of characters regarding both ethnicity and age groups, and do a good job of not making them offensive or overly stereotypical. Was this something that was important to you? And did you ever get any pushback from the studio to kind of change the demographics of the Town of Perfection?
Interesting question. No, we didn't. Studio was very supportive, and the Town of Perfection, the original Town of Perfection, grew out of what was going on at the time. We wanted a diverse cast, not because we were really making a statement. It was we lived in the Southwest and we were aware of what was going on. The Walter Chang character, for example, was originally Vietnamese, because a lot of Vietnamese were resettling in America at the time, and it was not common, but it wasn't uncommon to go into a little store and have it owned by a Vietnamese guy. And then we cast Walter because that's the Asian cast members that came in. Walter was the one that most embodied what we wanted, and Walter quietly took us aside one day and said, I am Chinese, and we're like, oh yeah, we should probably change that, shouldn't we? And I was glad that he brought it up. I can say that we were naive enough at the time not to have thought of that ourselves. So yeah, so in that one conversation, and the whole history of Chang's Market changed, and we changed the name to a Chinese name, and never looked back. So it became a thing because of where we started, if that makes sense. In other words, because we decided to have an Asian character running the store, because we felt like that was a thing that was really going on in the Southwest. Then, subsequently, we felt like we should keep doing that. It does represent the population. And that's why the Hispanic characters are there, and even in the series, we continue to do that. So it was by design after we figured it out.
That's a great story. I totally love that. So once we get to Tremors 4, why was it decided to do kind of a Wild West era prequel? Were there other eras or other scenarios discussed for that film?
Well, we were completely taken aback because they had swore up and down the marketing department. The handwriting was on the wall. The marketing was going to become to rule Hollywood as it does now. But we weren't reading it that way. But they said, Tremors 3 is the last movie. Okay, good. We know exactly what to do. And no, we got to have Tremors 4 right now. And oh my God, guys, we really did close the loop. We're not going to break the rules and have the ass blasters turn into something else. And we don't care. So I said I really don't know what to do other than to really do a prequel or something completely different. And the video division, that was the best thing about them. We don't care. So I said, would you consider a Western? Do we retell the story, sort of the original Tremors story as a Western? Sure. So that's what we decided to do. And we knew we were gambling with the fans because here, first of all, Bert had become, Michael Gross's character had become the sort of the centerpiece of the thing by Tremors 3. And, but we thought, well, there probably won't be very many more of these. Let's have fun. Let's do it. Michael was completely on board, playing the opposite of Bert as Hiram.
Yeah.
And then we brought in other characters, sort of fill that role, Billy Grego and so forth. And so the studio was supportive in the sense of doing it. And it was kind of the only thing we could think of. We didn't want to break the rules. So we said, all right, we'll take our existing monsters. Oh, and then we thought, well, the one thing we've never seen is baby graboids. go to the other end of the loop, the life cycle, and start with baby graboids. And that's how we backed into it. And no, to answer your question, once they said it was okay to do a Western and a kind of a prequel, no, we didn't think about, let's do graboids in Australia or something. We did think about that later. But,
yeah, I love that even, all the way into the fourth film, you guys are finding, like, new and inventive ways to show the graboids. Like, that shot of the graboid chasing them as they're leaving on the, like, stagecoach, and it goes underneath the bridge. I thought that was really cool.
It's a fantastic shot. It was exactly what I wanted, and that's a miniature, and the Scotex did that.
Oh,
you
man.
would not believe the rig they made with a little 6-foot-long graboid it was a track with but it was a custom-made curved track with a hump so that the tail would kick up and hit the bottom of the bridge at exactly the right moment, because they were matching an existing live-action shot.
Right.
That I worked on with the guys to get the dust to kick up off the bridge as though it had been impacted by something heavy. Because, the effects guys, they try all kinds of things, and communication is very difficult. It's interesting. It's very hard your biggest challenge sometimes as a director is communicating what you want or what you see in your head. Because it's hard to get it across. But anyway, thank you. I love that shot.
Yeah, it's
exactly
awesome.
What we wanted.
So I have kind of a fascination with the experience of working with child actors. So I was wondering, I had a couple questions regarding the ones that you worked with in the Tremors films. What was it like working with Ariana Richards both before and after her massive kind of Jurassic Park fame?
Well, we didn't know what she was going to do, so she was it was perfectly fine. She was a lovely little girl and a lovely young woman. It was really, really fun when she agreed to come back, because she was kind of moving away from acting at that point. She's a very talented artist, and a kid on a set, you don't see that much. There's lots of rules about how long they can be on set, and they have to be in school and all these things. So when you work with them, it's a short, intensive period. When she's available to do pogo sticking, then everything is focused. Everything is focused on that. And but she was, even at a young age, she had been in something you probably know better than I. She had been in something just before that, but she was, very professional and hardworking, as everybody was. We were incredibly lucky with Tremors. Everything came together in a way on the movie, as low budget as it was, and as hard as the shoot was, just physically, just weather-wise, it was just murder shooting out in Lone Pine. She was like everybody, just there and hardworking and doing things over and over and getting dirty and getting dust blown in her face. Every actor got dust. Not only is it windy and dusty, but the effects guys are blowing dust in your face with big air guns. So.
Okay. And I think something that we're all kind of jokingly wondering, is that kid Bobby Jacoby as annoying as Melvin, the character, is in real life? Or is he cool?
He's very cool. He's especially very cool now. Robert. And he makes fun of himself in Tremors, because he feels like he was actually young. I mean, I think he got, if I'm remembering correctly, he got the legal powers to grant him adult status so that he could work longer days, even though technically he wasn't 18 when he shot, which was a huge help to us because, the character, when he's on, he was on all day, every day. These were long, long days. And, he absolutely hates today the line, "Way to go, dude."
Yes.
He insists that he was just not on that way and not feeling. You should ask him, really, of course, because he tells the story better than I do. But And I remember at the time thinking, boy, what an unusual reading of that line. and it became a thing, you know. It's like people cut it into songs and whatnot.
Okay.
Yeah, that's funny.
And then just about the last child actor here with Sam Lee in Tremors 4, why was it decided to so heavily feature a really young Asian actor in this film? And was there consideration about going with an older kid instead, or making him the son of one of the other characters in the town?
You know, now, Tremors 4, even though we did the outline, was written by a talented writer from 6 Feet Under. And all the names are going out of my head today. Hopefully you can put these on a blog or something. Yeah. And my memory is that he pushed for the character that Sam plays. It became more of a central character than I had envisioned during the outline.
Okay.
That's the way I remember it. And then, you know, and I went with it, you know, thinking it was good. You know, and then again, God, I feel like we were just blessed on the first 4 movies. You know, Sam was just amazingly hardworking, you know, and not terribly experienced, you know. He just had that thing. The ability to be real on camera.
Okay. So we also noticed, kind of hidden in the credits, that Matthew Scott Wilson appears in small roles in 3 and 4, and we're just wondering if he was related to you, and if so, what's he up to nowadays?
Oh, yeah, that's my son. He was very much, and is still very much, would love to act for a living. He hasn't quite gotten there, but yes, given my limited powers, I was able to get him the small parts in those 2 movies. And mostly he's done theater. He's in Chicago now, doing theater wherever and whenever he can.
Okay, great.
But yeah, that's my son.
So you guys did the first 4 movies, and you know it kicked off. And is still kicking off this huge, you know, franchise for Tremors. And I know you said you are always on the Stampede Entertainment website answering fan questions. What's been your experience with the Tremors fan base overall throughout this entire thing?
It's great fun. I mean, you know, it's amazing to us, you know, all these years later, to have people still sending in questions and still being interested and still coming up with new questions. And I'm literally staggered. I have a new batch in my email right now that I've got to get to.
Oh, wow.
Because I always think at some point that they'll start repeating themselves, but they don't. They seem, for the most part, they seem to read the whole FAQ area before they ask, because it's rare that I get the same question, you know. Probably the one you get the most is, where is the old Jeep? People really, really want to know where the old Jeep is.
Oh, man.
And of course, sadly, I don't know. You know, we rented 2 of them. And one thing I tell people, I think I just put it up recently, is that, you know, a lot of people still don't know how you make a movie. They don't know that you need multiple Jeeps to make things work. And they're not the same. And it's fun to look at the original Tremors and spot the differences between the 2. Yeah. We tried to make them the same. We thought they were the same. And then you're sitting there editing and you're going back and forth in a scene, and you go, oh, wow. That Jeep's totally different, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, you guys must have pulled it off if everyone keeps asking. Where's the one Jeep?
Well, you know, that was one of those things. We just wanted a big, gnarly 4-wheel drive vehicle, you know, and because we had all these talented people, all, you know, doing their best for us, the transportation department found the thing, you know. I know a fair amount about 4-wheel drive vehicles, but, you know, I wouldn't have said, oh, go get a Jeep Gladiator, because they're rare to begin with. And, you know, this thing showed up on set, and I'm like, oh my God, yeah, that's Val Merrill's vehicle, absolutely. You know, and I assume it was just rent, as the reason I say I don't know, because I don't know, that you just, you know, you build the town, you get the vehicles, and then you sell it, or you rented it, and you give it back to the rental place, and we don't know where they went. They had a devil of time finding one or a couple of them for Tremors 3 then. We have to have Jeep Gladiators now. Well, they're really hard to find. Well, no, you have to get one.
What might be one of your favorite on-set stories from working on the first 4 films? If you have one favorite.
Well, that's an interesting question. There's lots of. Well, here's one. In Tremors 1, there was a moment in the basement with Bert and Heather when they have killed the graboid, and he says his famous line. And sometimes you know that a line is going to be big. A lot of times you don't. But this one we knew was an important one. You broke into the wrong damn rec room. And so there was tension when we got to that. Because Michael was worried about doing it, Ron was worried about directing it, Brent and I are lurking in the background worried, and we're all waiting for Michael to do it. So, and it's emotional. The shot starts after all the chaos, but Michael still has to be exhausted, and Reba's exhausted, and they back into the corner. And Ron did this like 3 or 4 or 5 times, and each time Brent and I would run over in the shadows and give him all these notes and ideas. And finally, Michael came walking over and said, "Can we all discuss this together?" He wasn't truly mad, but it was bothering him. So whispering was going on, and then Ron would come out and suggest another way to do the line.
That's fantastic.
That was a moment.
Nice.
I know there was. Well, actually, they're in one of the funny moments in Tremors 4 is in the outtakes, I think, where the horses all go wandering off.
Yeah. Nobody
can control their horses.
Oh man.
Working with animals it's amazing. It's I felt like such a complete novice. Here I love westerns, but I don't know anything about horses, and it was just it made me appreciate all the westerns I saw as a kid, thinking how much they work with horses and how much they got the horses to do. Not that our horses were bad; they were just horses.
Yeah.
Okay. So I know that you have been asked about the rest of the franchise a lot. I actually did read all of your answers on the Stampede website. But in light of the recent news about the Kevin Bacon pilot and the Tremors 5 and 6 coming out, can you tell us a little bit about how you feel now about the Tremors franchise continuing on without you and your team?
Well, we're disappointed. We're disappointed because we weren't given a choice. Universal said, "We're making Tremors 5. We're starting with your script, and we'd like you to rewrite it. But other than that, we do not want you involved in any way, shape, or form." And they did not say why. So we don't know why that was. And when Kevin announced, after saying that Tremors was the low point of his career for 20 years, when Kevin announced he was doing the series, our managers approached the company that was going to shoot it and said, "Hey, the creators are all alive. Would you like to meet with them?" And they said, "No, absolutely not." So, and did not say why. So yeah, I'm disappointed. And I feel like we had a lot of good ideas for what Val would have been doing all these years. Some of them were in Tremors too, but we had to cut them all out.
Okay, and are you and your partners still on okay terms with Michael Gross?
Oh yeah. I mean, we don't begrudge him running with the character. It's his character. And the same for John Welpley, who wrote Tremors 5 and 6. John wrote Tremors 3 based on our outline. And then he doesn't really lay claim to Tremors 5 only because his version is that it was changed drastically once it got to South Africa. So, but a job's a job. Somebody's got to write it.
Yeah.
So if somebody came to me and said, "Hey, write Tremors 6," of course you're going to do it.
Well, are there any projects that you're currently working on, or the Stampede Entertainment creative team have any plans to get back together or anything?
Well, we keep hoping so. We keep talking about it. Hollywood has changed so dramatically now, with marketing completely running the show. All decisions are based on marketing long before a script is ever written. Selling an original idea is quite difficult now, and I don't know that we could sell Tremors now. There are no people like Jim Jacks at Universal who saw the script, knew what it was, went in and convinced the studio to make it. So this is going to be a cool movie. That doesn't happen now. Mm-hmm. Marketing is in control, and they want to know how many people know this title. And that all the decisions are made based on how many people already know the title, which is why we are in the sequel universe that we're in. And Brent and I have written a TV pilot, several spec scripts, doing what we did back on the Tremors day, and have not been able to sell them. And we get different responses, oh, well, this is just kind of rehashed Tremors, or this is that and the other thing. But the reality is, they've never heard of them. So unless you're Christopher Nolan, then you can tell the studio, I'm going to do an original idea, and they can't tell you no. We're not in that ballpark. So, yeah, we keep trying. We keep trying to think of different ways, low budget idea. We wrote a sci-fi script with no special effects at all. Thinking nice. Maybe somebody would, it's sort of a bizarre Twilight Zone kind of thing. It's all dialogue with weird ideas, and we kind of thought we might get somewhere with that. And we've gotten close with that. People get it. Oh yes, I could do this for under $1 million, kind of thing. But anyway, no, Ron is off directing TV and has been for years. Mm-hmm. Brent and I, like I say, continue to do specs. Our manager, agent, partner, Nancy, retired. Mm-hmm. So that's where we are. Well, then I do my books. I've been writing novels. Mm-hmm. And, I actually turned one of our pitches that we could not sell to anybody because it was an original idea. I mean, we were actually told at 20th, gee, this is a great idea. I wish it was based on something. And but we can't buy it because it isn't based on anything. It's too original. So I turned that. It's called Frady Cats. I turned that into a book, and I'm doing another Frady Cats book now. And I did a book that I started in my teens. I finished that and put it out. It's called Tucker's Monster. So that's my universe right now. Is I've been writing novels.
Awesome.
With the backhanded hope that if one of the novels sells well enough, then a studio will suddenly say, we could do a movie based on this.
Well, we'll see. Even with the novels, it kind of just gets back to the heart of why you guys did Tremors, of just having the creative control and doing the things that excited you. And I think that's the thing that resonates so much. And it is frustrating with Hollywood. It's like, hey, I just did, what I knew nerds like me wanted to see, and it spawned an entire franchise. And doing those rules and doing that, it really resonates. And so I think that it's really inspiring, as I'm sure filmmakers listening out there, and to me personally, that this thing that we all love just came from, hey, let's just do the thing the way we want to do it. And I think that everyone on set, everybody who's doing those performances, it really comes through. And I think that ultimately that's the thing that brings everybody to Tremors and keeps them coming back.
Well, thank you. I believe that too.
It's been such a pleasure getting to talk to you today. We really appreciate you being here with us, Steve. And like Tyler just said, it's inspiring to see that you're still so involved with the fan base online, and I just think that's really awesome. And it's been such a pleasure talking with you.
Thank you. You too. It's nice to be in the position of still having people aware of what we did. So I appreciate the research and the thought that you folks put into this analysis.
Well, thank you. Is there any specific place you want to direct people to be able to follow you online if they want to reach out? We'll obviously be posting the Stampede Entertainment website and everything, but is there anywhere else that would be a good spot to check you out?
Well, I'm supposed to, my publishers want me to reactivate my Facebook, which I let die a while back. So yeah, I may do that. I'm supposed to do that. What else? ARealDealProductions.com is where the books are available. They're available on Amazon, of course, too. But A Real Deal Productions back in the Midwest handles the sales of them. No, I guess that's pretty much it. The fact page at Stampede is the place to send questions when you have questions about Tremors.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you again so much. This has been we've been like excited about this all week and last week. Like it's just been
really great speaking.
Such an honor to get
Thank
to talk
you.
to you.
Thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you all.
All right. Have a good day, Steve.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.